I'm architectural designer Charlie Luxton, and I want to get Britain building. Because if you can't afford to buy the house of your dreams, I'm going to show you how you could build it instead. Today I'm in the Scottish borders helping Barbara Neal and David Kilgore to build a very unusual home.
I think it's obviously just every little girl's dream. I've got my ponies in my house.
And it's going to be big. It's massive!
It's amazing!
I love this space. But Barbara's a complete amateur, and this is a project that would test anyone's mettle.
I've never done anything like this before, so it is a real steep learning curve.
She massively underestimates the scale and cost of the build.
I measured the height of the house and the width of the house based on my riding arena.
Yeah, I normally measure things with a ruler and off a drawing. And before long, they find themselves out in the cold.
Those nights where it's -10 and it's just freezing.
With a financial mountain to climb.
How are you doing with your budget?
Blown out the water entirely.
Really?
Run out of money.
Now, the great thing about self-build is you can design and build a house that perfectly reflects you, your loves and passions, whether that be a cinema room, a sauna or a gym. Now, in the case of horse-loving Barbara and partner David, it's about creating a horse stables that takes up the entire ground floor of their proposed new home. Ambulance technician Barbara bought this 10-acre plot and cottage near Peebles over 11 years ago.
Come on, pay attention.
As a keen dressage rider and all-round horse enthusiast, she's been living on the land with her horses ever since. 2 years ago, she met fitness consultant David, and the couple are now self-building a property to cope with their animals. So obviously horses is absolutely crucial to you being here.
Yes. Yes, whole point of being here.
But I've also noticed there's more than horses. There's a goat.
There's Tash.
And there's chickens.
And dogs.
And dogs. Sort of there's a menagerie.
Yes, there is.
It's a perfect life for us. I mean, everything's here. We're surrounded by everything, the wildlife, and we love that. And
it's a really nice spot, isn't it, in this kind of little,
very sheltered.
Little valley.
It's a little microclimate here. It just sits.
Gotta love a microclimate.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
The initial plan was to create a new home for themselves and new stables for the horses. But the planning department would only grant permission for one new building. Not wanting her horses to miss out on their new pad, Barbara's solution was to put them all under one roof. Basically, you're swapping all of these little buildings that are dotted around for one big building.
Yeah.
Stabling on ground floor, you above.
Yeah. A lot of Scandinavia and Austria and places like this are doing this now, building new houses with the animals underneath.
For the warmth.
The warmth. We can't gain the warmth because of environmental health. We have to have it sealed, but honestly, I would quite like that anyway. I don't really want the smell.
we don't want
horse
smell.
Horses, but I really don't want the smell coming through into the living room.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
That was my next question.
We
Is
have that in
like,
our clothes.
oh, Jesus, what have you done, Daisy? Barbara and David are building a contemporary barn-style house with wood cladding and a glazed gable end. Stables for Barbara's horses will make up the entire ground floor, with lift access to the two-storey living space above. But what strikes me most is the sheer scale of this build. 5 bedrooms, 3 with en-suites, and a vast open-plan living kitchen area. Why 5 bedrooms?
Just having the stables on the ground floor dictated how big the house was.
You didn't have to go to 3 stories.
That bit was just nice. We wanted the mezzanine master bedroom overlooking the living kitchen dining so we could see the horses out the glass gable end.
Barbara and David have contracted a professional company to build the shell of the house, but once they leave, they're on their own.
We're quite naive in that sense. We're blank canvases, so we have no bad habits at least. So.
You got any tools?
No.
Right.
Christmas is coming.
The actual build of the house is really quick. It's slating, cladding, rend board, outside finished.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep saying it like it sounds so easy because we're doing it. And then inside. And what can be hard about plasterboard and plumbing and electrics, really? Can't take that long, can it?
In fact, they're hoping they can build in just 8 months and move in at the end of summer. Sounds very ambitious. And to make matters worse, they've only been able to borrow 200 grand to build the place. How many square meters?
431.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing lots of it ourselves.
That's really tight.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, that's like £500 a square metre. Most people do well to build at twice that price, so that would be some going. Barbara's plot was valued at £125,000, which brings the total cost of the build to £325,000. The new house could be worth 590 grand, saving them 265,000 if they stick to budget. Barbara and David's remote plot is just 23 miles south of Edinburgh, but a world away from the hustle and bustle of city life. The project will be one of a kind, if they can stay within budget. But I think they can make their money go further by embracing the agricultural nature of the building. Given your budget, you would do really well to think about going to farm manufacturers to get stuff made for you.
Oh, okay.
Like the stairs, the really simple chunks of wood that are really simply bolted in. These doors, galvanised metal with just tannerised or just timber bolted to the front of them. But it's that aesthetic because your house is over a stable.
Yes.
It fits.
Yeah.
Turning to the detail, and I think Barbara and David should mix up the direction of the wood cladding to reinforce the agricultural appearance. There's a load of different ways of doing cladding. You need to work out how you want to do it and what's a really affordable way of doing it. Because if you just go for this straight off the peg sort of thing, I think this will start to look very ordinary.
Okay.
I think it's a really interesting, unique building project. But with your budget, I think you are going to have to be incredibly disciplined to get there. Right then, 8 months, 200 grand. Good luck, guys. 3 weeks after my visit, the foundations have been completed, and the first bit of steel which will support the shell of the house is going up. The weather is anything but cheerful. But for Barbara, today marks the end of a 4-year planning battle and the start of the build.
Almost seems surreal. You can see the guys in the lashing rain starting to put a kit up. Just feels amazing and petrifying all in one go.
Barbara is project managing this build herself and working full-time as an ambulance technician.
That is really difficult. And when I am at home and something has to be sorted out now, I've got no mobile reception. So I have to keep running up a hill where I can get some reception, run back down, tell the builders what's happening. Then they want another question asked, run back up the hill, find reception again. So that's challenging.
It's a pretty mammoth undertaking, and made all the harder because they've already rented out the cottage to free up cash and moved into an on-site caravan.
There's no regret about having the cottage rented out. It's definitely the best thing for us financially. But I can't deny that it is hard sitting in the caravan, freezing cold, and watching our tenants in the house, the fire roaring.
Over the next few days, the storms continue with full force, but so do the build team. These structural insulated panels, known as SIPs, consist of a foam core sandwiched between 2 timber boards. They'll slot together like a giant jigsaw puzzle to create a super warm, airtight shell.
It's quite eye-opening watching it take shape, because everyone's told me when they looked at the plans, they looked at the drawings, that this is a really big house. And then when the foundations first went in, I thought, God, it's tiny. It's not at all what everyone else told me it was going to be. It's a really small house. And then the ground floor is done, and I'm like, okay, I see everyone's point. It is huge.
And today they'll be laying the floor panels of what will be Barbara's new first-story living room.
And wow, the view is amazing. Exciting. How cool. I'm in my living room. When I look over there and see what will be the glass gable end of the living room and see the view that I was hoping to get, I can't believe I'm up here.
Coming up, I discover just how huge the build is.
Oh, man!
Look at this!
Wow, wow.
That one there.
And Barbara discovers that this building lark is not as easy as it looks.
Yay! It bounced back out though. It's come back out, hasn't it? No way, I missed!
In the hills of the Scottish borders, Barbara and David are 2 months into building a home on top of stable. It's going to be huge, but their 200k build budget is tiny.
The thing is, this would be an ambitious project for someone with self-build experience. Now, for Barbara and David, who have none, it's tough. And add to that, they've started in the middle of winter and they're balancing full-time jobs and living in a freezing cold caravan.
Throughout December and January, the weather drops to a bone-chilling -10.
Oh, it's freezing.
And life in the caravan gets a whole lot harder.
Really struggling with the caravan. The water's been cold, it's frozen all the time.
So I have to go to the neighbour's house for the water containers, for coffee.
No toilets.
Yeah, no toilets.
Showers. There's nights where it's -10 and it's just freezing inside. Even with the heating, it's, you know, it's frozen in the inside of the windows. And once you're under the duvet, you don't want to get up, and that's it's becoming so difficult at the moment. But you know, it's got to be done.
Throughout the bad weather and much of Christmas, the builders battle on. But despite their best efforts, it takes 6 weeks longer than planned to erect the shell of the house. But by February, the roof's on. Some of the windows are going in, and they're one step closer to being wind and watertight.
Suddenly everyone's turned up. Joiners, electricians, and all cracked on. And the progress they've made over those past few weeks has been outstanding.
But now the main structure of the house is up, the specialist team have left, and it's all down to first-time project manager Barbara to coordinate the different trades.
I do like being in control, I do like being in charge of everything, so it suits my nature immensely. But I've never done anything like this before, so it is a real steep learning curve.
She's undaunted, but her fixed price deal for the frame has cost her £145,000, leaving just 55 grand to do literally everything else. As far as I'm concerned, it's mission impossible, but Barbara has no option now but to carry on and get value for every pound she spends.
You know, it's quite challenging because you kind of have to be on the ball all the time, ready to order materials and ready to order this, that, and next thing, or question things, or, you know, not know what you're doing next. And having the right team, I think, is the most important thing because they've kept it sort of smooth all the way through.
Over the next month, the large metal frame on that amazing gable end is hoisted into position. Soon the larch cladding is going on. Never one to shy away from a bit of hard labour, Barbara's brandishing a nail gun.
There. That one there.
You want me to put an X?
No.
No? You must.
Yay! It bounced back out.
I told you must.
It's come back out.
You must, look.
No way, I missed.
She
She'll be alright in a few years.
And by April, the outside of the house is nearly complete. But the money's almost gone, so Barbara is looking for bargains wherever she can.
We have toilets, sinks, taps.
We got all the bathrooms for £1,500, which I thought was pretty good.
The latest bargain cost just £300.
That's better. There's 5p on it. I'll buy something.
And whilst it's certainly big enough for the room, it may have its limitations.
So there's 3 people sitting on it. You couldn't really talk to each other, and you'll dribble your wine or your coffee when you try and drink.
She's having to be frugal partly because of some of the impressive aspects to this house, like the glazing for the gable end, which is arriving today.
Yay! At last. It's like Christmas Day.
I'm excited to spice my house.
There are 14 separate pieces, and each has to be carefully lifted into position by hand.
He's not letting me help. I'm not allowed to help. I'm not trustworthy enough.
Of the 55 grand that Barbara had left to complete the house, a whopping 29 grand is going on glazing. Her budget really is running on empty, but at least she's now got a weather-tight home.
It's fantastic having the windows in. It's been the longest wait. It means we can continue inside and start feeling a bit warmer in the house.
She still has the money coming in from renting out her old cottage. And although that means an extended stay in the caravan, Barbara's remaining optimistic.
So this is the caravan, the bedroom and the cat. This is the bathroom, which is AKA wardrobe. This is the parlour. If we pull out this drawer here, we have a kitchen unit. It's not very clean. And the lights all work. It's quite fancy. All mod cons in here, you know. And this is home sweet home for the past year.
She's tough. Even though the weather's improved, I'm not sure I could have hacked it in here for that long. It's now May, and I'm excited to get my first look at the place in 7 months.
That's gone up pretty fast, and it is massive. That is a really big building. And I can see from here that they've taken some of my advice and they've clad the whole of the outside of the building, and they've taken the cladding and they put it vertical. I think it looks much more barny than those original drawings. That's good. They've made some good decisions. It's massive.
Much bigger than what we expected. I think once we saw it on the site, when it was mapped out, we actually thought this is tiny.
Yeah, that's the normal thing though. It looks really tiny and then it gets bigger and bigger.
Overall, this is feeling like a more authentic agricultural building. But there's something about the entrance to the stables that's bugging me, and I just have to get it off my chest.
Now, I have one more suggestion, and you might not like it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Some of your openings have got these nice, simple, flat tops to them, and some of them have got these arches to them. But then when you walk inside, they're held up by flat lintels, so it's just stick-on. It's like decoration.
It is. It's
Why
not
do you
structural, it's definitely.
cut them straight? The whole point of an arch is it is a supporting structure in a masonry wall.
True. True. And it's not. It's just pretty.
I just don't like doing things for the sake of it.
Job done, isn't it?
Barbara and David's main living space is up another story. This was always going to be special, but I have to admit, seeing it for the first time, I'm a little awestruck.
Oh, man! Look at this!
Pretty fast.
Wow! Wow, wow! It's massive! And it's on the first floor. It's kind of really alien to have a space like this on the first floor.
It's amazing.
I love this space.
This triple height space will contain their kitchen, dining and living room, with the master bedroom taking its most commanding position on the mezzanine floor above. And I just have to get a closer look at that as well.
That's really good, isn't it? That those windows kind of line up when you're in bed, you can see the top of the hill and the sky. And then you've got this.
Fantastic, isn't it?
I love the way those girders sort of run away from you. That is nice.
Yeah, I think it draws you towards the view outside as well.
Definitely.
It just takes that line through.
Definitely.
The master bedroom comes with its own ensuite. There's no window in here, but I have an idea about how they could make this internal space feel a whole lot brighter.
Well, one thing I think you could do, because I noticed that the partition wall between the ensuite and the stair isn't in.
That's right.
You're going to make that on site.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
What I think you could do is look to put a very large frosted glass panel in there.
That's a good idea.
And then I think you'll steal a bit of light out of the stair, and then I think you'll get enough light to make that room feel okay.
Never thought of doing
Well,
that.
that's it, because that it is a concern, actually.
Barbara and David have made great progress over the last 7 months, but with very little money left, they're going to have to get creative when it comes to kitting this place out. And they're not keen on my idea to embrace an agricultural finish, so I think it's about time they had some new inspiration. This eco-home in Coldingham, in Berwickshire, is set in a 2-acre hillside plot. It appears as a single-storey home from the entrance, but inside it drops down a level to cope with the sloping site.
Oh, I like this.
It was built by artist Jennifer Mole and her partner Jim Lucas in 2008.
Hello, hi. So this is our open plan living space.
It's a fantastic space.
I like the idea of having the kitchen space facing the living area, so you can be sociable if you're having parties, or you can cook and talk, because that's something we've obviously thought about for our kitchen design as well.
And actually you can cook and make a lot of mess there, and it's all hidden from your guests. And we've got a prep room in there. Rather than sort of lifting everything in and out of cupboards all the time, it's just there.
That's a good idea.
All the time, so that works very well.
This open plan layout is really clever. Using different levels defines the individual zones of the room. And eye-level cupboards and divides means that when you're sat, you don't see any mess in the area above.
It's quite nice to see the ideas of just breaking things up with cupboard space and...
Got a lot of storage space. Also, all of these bits that break it up. So we've got drawers on the other side of that for cutlery and crockery, and then we've got usable cupboard space underneath. So it's not just a block to define an area.
Jennifer's home was one of the first houses to be built to passive house standards in Scotland and uses hardly any energy to keep warm. A heat recovery system distributes warm, fresh air around the house, while solar panels, slate and glass absorb the sun's energy on the south-facing side.
We don't have any heating at all, so we've got slate in front of the fireplace. All the surfaces, and they absorb the heat from the sun and then release it, so it's a very slow release heating system.
Do you find that enough?
That is genuinely enough. It was, when we moved in, it was about -14 here.
Okay.
And it was warm enough within a couple of hours.
This must be music to Barbara's ears, as they're also hoping to rely on a heat recovery system plus log burner to stay warm. Upstairs there are 4 bedrooms and a family bathroom, which has a really neat idea for anyone with messy kids or partners.
So here we have a hatch, and the idea is that the kids take off their clothes and put the dirty clothes down the hatch, and there's a basket at the bottom that catches everything in the utility room. It's great in theory, but the kids still take their clothes off and chuck them on the floor.
Oh, okay. It's a good mother idea, though.
I am Dopey the house elf.
Yes, you are.
A contemporary glass walkway connects the upstairs rooms, over which a huge ceiling window floods light down into the centre of the house, while light tubes illuminate the walk-in wardrobe.
I love how reassuring she was about the heat recovery system. That for me is going to be more than enough for a house in Scotland, because so many people talk about them down south in England, which is an awful lot warmer. So somebody else up here who's having sort of -degrees and still not feeling the need to put on central heating. It's fantastic. Really, really good ideas. They've done some tremendous stuff with the space they've got. Very creative and colourful, and brilliant.
Coming up, they're going to have to get creative with their budget.
You can't just get so close and stop. That's when it gets really problematic. If you're out of money, that's when things get really tough.
And I get told to back off.
Tough luck, Charlie, on the archways, I'm afraid. I fully appreciate they're not structural. I fully appreciate they're not made of stone. And I fully appreciate that they're just pretty. But I love them.
Near Peebles in the Scottish borders, Barbara and David are 7 months into building their barn-style home on top of stables for the horses. They hoped they could move themselves into the shell of this building in just 8 months. But the Scottish weather has caused some serious delays, and they're still at least a month away from only completing the first floor.
I have to say, sort of October is not the time I would think, I know, I live in Scotland, let's start building a house.
It's not really the best. We should have started last April.
But just planning and
Just building warrant and things.
So it was the cards we were dealt, so we just had to get on with it.
They were hoping to spend just 200 grand on building this massive house. It was always going to be tight.
how are you doing with your budget?
Blown out the water entirely.
Really?
Run out of money.
Well, how much do you think to get it finished?
Aiming for 280.
I have to admit, I kind of saw this one coming.
Where has the overspend come from?
The size of the house. Things we couldn't begin to take into context. First of all, I didn't think the house was this big.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why. I measured the height of the house and the width of the house based on my riding arena. Because that's how I measure everything. And it's not that big.
Yeah, I normally measure things with a ruler and off a drawing.
Yeah.
Barbara and David still have the income from renting out the cottage, and they plan to raise around 8 grand by selling the old stables and scaffolding.
Then the caravan goes and money starts coming back to us that we have, to keep this going.
And the rest of the time just work.
And work, yeah.
But 80 grand is such a lot to find in dribs and drabs. I'm worried this whole project could grind to a halt.
You can't just get so close and stop. That's when it gets really problematic. If you're out of money, that's when things get really tough. But if you can get in to that middle bit, that's comfortable for 280 with the size of this building. I think you'll be doing amazingly well. In a month, I think you'll be doing really well.
Yeah.
I think you need to think really hard. Now, plan really hard.
Totally.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's now July. With the original loan from the mortgage company having run out, they're going to have to finance it using their wages and rental income. And that means everything has to take a lot longer, taking them way past their 8-month deadline. They are now wind and watertight, and Barbara's even managing to install her feature log burner, but it's slow going. Joiners Bob and Melville, who have become somewhat of a permanent fixture, have made excellent progress on the stables underneath the house, albeit without my input.
Tough luck, Charlie, on the archways, I'm afraid. As soon as I knew I was building a house with stables in the house, I had to have archways. I fully appreciate they're not structural. I fully appreciate they're not made of stone. And I fully appreciate that they're just pretty. But I love them. I just love them, and I can't be without them.
It might be over budget now, but when finished, this house should be really economical to run, and today marks a crucial stage in the build. It's the first air tightness test, and Barbara's understandably a little nervy.
Big chunk of me not very confident, because if it isn't airtight, then we've got slight panic stations as to where to even begin. But at the same token, the house is designed to be airtight, so hopefully it's just going to do what it says in the tin.
As well as a log burner, this highly insulated house will rely on a heat recovery system to circulate warmth from one room to another. The fewer leaks the building has, the better this system can work.
Oh, yeah. Yay! The moment of truth. Is the house airtight or not?
Air is pumped in so that the pressure inside the building is higher than outside. Measuring the loss in pressure will allow them to tell how much air is escaping from the house.
I'll have a result for you quite soon.
The test is measured on a numerical scale where the lower the figure, the better.
Moment of truth.
Right, we just scored 5.3.
Ooh!
So, at the moment it's passing. But it will get slightly better.
The house will be tested again once it's finished. But to get this reading at such an early stage is clearly pleasing for Barbara.
As a pre-test, I think that's perfect.
Alright, 5.337.
Yay! Well done. I'm pretty pleased with that.
It's another hurdle overcome, but Barbara and David's biggest challenge is going to be how to give this place the finish it deserves on a shoestring budget.
You've made all your decisions about the outside and the big decisions, and you're now that sort of getting towards that interior stage, aren't you?
Yes.
And I think with your house, you know, there's going to be some very bright light rooms, but then I think some of the spaces are going to be quite dark. And I actually would embrace that.
Their visit to Jennifer and Jim's place has opened their eyes to what you can achieve with the humble paint pot. Using very bright colours in open plan spaces while using darker ones in the smaller internal areas.
They had a very nice dressing room, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
Really, really clever use of space.
And what I thought was very clever about it is colour.
Yeah.
Because it was a very dark room with just a couple of sun tubes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times when you have an artificially lit space, there's a tendency to think, oh, let's make it white because it'll feel like it's bright. But they did the opposite, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was very successful. I think that's something you could learn from. Quite enclosing and like a big hug.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
I reckon Barbara and David could copy the dark colour scheme for their own dressing room to cleverly create a sense of light in the adjoining ensuite.
Now, your bathroom is struggling a little bit for natural light, but I'd sort of envisaged a glass panel here, right next to the shower. So if you then pass through this dressing area, and this dressing area is really dark, very internal feeling.
Then when you walk through into the ensuite, the fact that there is a bit of stolen light from this window, that will suddenly start to feel that much brighter. Because you've gone from a bright space to a very dark space to a slightly lighter space. And so kind of it tricks the mind into going, oh, this is quite a bright room. One of the things I admired about Jen's place was her messy prep room. And I think Barbara and David could kit out their utility room in the same way to keep mess out of their massive open-plan kitchen, diner, living area.
I think you can do for when you come to fit that out is go online to auctions and stuff and get X catering gear. You know, be a bit scuffed up, but there's something nice about going, this is a back of house area, we can get second hand and use it in that space.
From what I've seen on site, you know, there's real potential here to make an amazing place. The main thing you've got to do is really control the budget between now and finishing. So I think all your decisions have got to be do it very simply, do it as well as you can, but as simply as you can in order to keep control of the budget. It's midsummer. There was a time when they thought they'd be moving into a finished house around now. The reality is they're now camping here without water or electricity. But there is some good news. Family have agreed to loan Barbara the money she needs to press on with the build. And over the next few months, it's full steam ahead. The plastering and the painting are completed.
Hi guys. Stables.
And the horses make themselves at home on the floor below. By autumn, bathrooms are being tiled. And the feature window in the master bedroom is carefully manoeuvred into position. And Barbara's still bagging bargains, like this X-Display kitchen, which was an absolute steal at just £5,000. By January, after 6 months relying on a single extension lead from the old stables, the house has finally been connected to power. Today, another milestone's being reached. The lift is being installed, which will give Barbara direct access to her horses below.
Bob, do you want coffee?
No, I'm fine, thanks, Bob.
The whole house has been built and designed around this aspect. So to be in that zone now is really nice. And then the luxury of the lift would mean I can be really lazy and go down in my pyjamas and kiss them goodnight. Plus, I think it's obviously just every little girl's dream. I've got my ponies in my house, which is obviously a total childhood dream that's now actually come true, and it's for real.
It really has been some year for Barbara, and with everything that's happened, schedules have come and gone.
Because I had it in my head that the house would be finished in September, and it wasn't. I was just so... I want to have some end in sight, and I just don't see it just now.
But whenever the house is finished, it will be just Barbara living here. Over the last couple of months, her relationship with David has come to an end.
It's been a full-on year. Oh, it's been one thing after another, literally. It's been one thing after another between house build things. Then Dave and I parted company. We've gone our separate ways and I'm finishing the house on my own. It's amicable, there's no issues, but yeah, I'm doing it on my own now. I think the house would be 90% finished this month in January, assuming I paint till 2 in the morning every night. But it's one of those things, will they ever be done? Or will there be things that I just pick away over the next few months, or I don't know, who knows? It's one of those houses you could always turn around and say it's never actually quite finished. Possibly, I don't know.
Still to come, progress threatens to dry up.
One of the things missing is the stuff that comes out of these things. Still no water. 22 months later, I still go to her mum's house for showers.
But the finished space knocks my socks off.
Ho, 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 ho. It's vast.
Near Peebles, ambulance technician Barbara Neal has been living in her barn-style home for 6 months, but it's not quite finished yet.
Barbara is just weeks away from completing this enormous project. It has been a mammoth undertaking, but as cash flow has slowed, naturally, so has progress.
But thanks to loans from family, things are starting to come together.
Puppy dogs, come on.
Today, Barbara's very purple dressing room is being kitted out by her trusty joiner, Bob.
Yeah, try that.
And a little treat for the horses too, as their stables are fitted with a heat lamp.
Oh, Samson! You're Sunday! It can be hard because you are looking for progress, you are looking to see a difference every day, and it's been a long time now since sort of getting ready to start a project. So when you have stagnant moments, you don't see progress, it gets a bit deflating. But at the same token, you offset it against the rest of the house, which is fantastic. So just have to focus on the positive and see the good things that are happening.
It might feel like baby steps, but at least they're in the right direction. And I'm delighted to see Barbara has taken on my suggestion to add this glass panel to her ensuite.
I think it's quite fantastic actually. It's always a bright day outside because the window out there, it will give lots of light into here, so I think that was a clever idea of Charlie's.
Although she's still a way off being able to actually enjoy a shower in here, as the bathrooms still haven't been plumbed in.
Yeah, I've got all these lovely bathrooms that are nearly there. The only thing I'm waiting for is plumbing, toilets and showers and water. It would be really nice.
2 weeks later, the garage doors are being fitted, and with the help of the new lift, Barbara's able to move more of her things into the house. The property is slowly taking shape, although some essentials still need seeing to.
One of the things missing is the stuff that comes out of these things. Still no water. Drinking water, buy it and have bottled water all the time. And showers, 22 months later, I still go to my mum's house for showers.
By March, I hear the kettle's on and the home fires are stoked. And I, for one, can't wait to see how it's all turned out.
Now, I think your overwhelming impression of this project is quite simply its size. It's enormous. Now, I know the whole ground floor is the stables, but even so, it is vast. And I could sort of nitpick about these arches and what have you, but considering that Barbara has pretty much single-handedly built this project and she's never done anything like this before, you've got to take your hat off to her.
Everything about this place is charmingly unique, down to the way you enter the house, through stables and a rather snug lift.
Hello.
Hi!
You've got a lift.
I do.
It's very grand.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
And the door that opens.
Good to see you.
And you. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. I'm loving the audience. Oh, it's vast. It is very sort of cathedral-like, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, but it's really grand, and that view's fantastic. I love the asymmetry of that window. It makes it a bit more interesting than if it was all glass.
Okay, oh good.
And the height.
I love the height.
The modern glazed gable end, sleek white gloss kitchen with dark worktops, natural wood floor and stylish log burner look right at home in here and really contrast Barbara's more traditional furniture and fabrics.
Is it cosy enough for you?
Yes.
You don't feel swamped by the space, if you know what I mean?
Oh, no, not at all. No.
And I can imagine when the sun's out, it must just be glorious.
When the sun's out, it streams in.
What's it like at night?
It's absolutely lovely. Sit down there by the fire with a book, dogs curled up by the fire. It's really warm, comforting space. It's lovely.
It all looks very finished, but until recently this place was nothing more than a glorified campsite.
You've been living here with very little running water or no running water
Yes.
for a long time.
It's been quite difficult getting everything pulled together. That's been a challenge.
Have you got water? I'm going to check.
Yay!
And hot.
Yay!
But there's no escaping what this build is all about.
Is that the horse?
Rusty banging his door. Feed me.
That's the horse.
He's talking to the staff. It's quite annoying when they're going, feed me, and you have to go down to it.
You don't want to get them too used to that,
No,
do you?
I don't go when Rusty bang.
And also on the first floor there are 3 guest bedrooms and a family bathroom. So plenty of room for friends and family to come and stay. Upstairs on the second floor, a generous 4th bedroom and ensuite. But the real showstopper was always going to be Barbara's own master bedroom and that view.
Ah, yes. That works, doesn't it? So, bed,
Yep,
horses,
yep.
and then you can sort of see up to the field there.
Yep, we paddock up there for wee Bonnier.
So it's dual horsey aspect.
Absolutely. That I could never get tired of.
The palette throughout is simple and neutral, but I did encourage Barbara to choose a dark, bold colour in her dressing room, and it's fair to say she hasn't held back.
Wow, that's a colour.
Dressing
Very
room.
purple.
Very purple.
Metallic purple. And
Yeah.
then sort of a dark ensuite with the glazed panel.
Yeah,
That's very neatly done.
it is, isn't it? It makes it much brighter.
Which, without, I think it would feel quite claustrophobic.
Definitely. It was a really good idea of yours. I appreciate that one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's very rude as well.
Is it?
It is, because if somebody was on the stairs, you have this perfect silhouette of somebody in the shower.
Is that okay?
It's okay.
I think that sounds okay.
I think it's okay.
When I first met Barbara, I had some serious reservations about the 8-month schedule and the 200 grand budget. It's taken her 18-month house, but now the dust has settled, I can't help wondering what has happened to her budget.
The plot was 125,000 and originally wanted to spend 200,000. What did you spend?
All in all, about 320.
Okay. In total then, you spent about 445,000. Do you know what it's worth?
550.
550. So there's still about £100,000 sort of worth of equity in the work you've done. Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
She underestimated this spectacularly from the start, and in the end added 120 grand in loans and her own wages to supplement the budget. But I still think the fact she has seen this project through against all the odds is an amazing achievement.
Barbara, this has been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It's been way more than I ever thought it would be at the beginning. Didn't expect such a roller coaster the whole way.
Because you've had hard winters,
Yes.
cold caravan,
Yes.
massive house,
Yes.
budget going quite a lot bigger
Wrong.
than you
Yes.
wanted, your relationship
Yep.
sort of ending in the middle of it.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty much full house.
I'm pretty chuffed. I've done well. I've not had that many hard times. Considering everything that I've gone through,
I've not had very many low days.
To be honest, the caravan alone would have had me heading for the hills.
It was an adventure, it was a game, it was fun, it was filthy, but it was bloody good fun. I really enjoyed it, even though it was smelly and dirty and filthy and cold.
You are an extraordinary lady, you know that.
Slightly off the wall, perhaps.
Well,
yeah.
Unusual, I think would be the way I'd describe it. And I think you should be immensely proud of what you've achieved. I'm not sure I could have done it, and therefore I doff my hat.
Well, thank you.
Next time, I help a couple to build their first home together. And they're not planning to hang around.
Between 16 to 20 weeks.
What?
Yes.
They're determined that nothing will stand in their way.
There's a lot of things in this house that I wanted and I'm getting.
But when they start spending, I struggle to keep their feet on the ground.
Sometimes you need to dose that with a little bit of like cold hard reality. You're just tearing a dream apart.
If you're building the dream and would like to take part in the next series, visit channel4.com/take part for more information.
Budget very definitely not a problem over on 4 next. Riding a wave of new money washing in from Lagos to London. Meet the Nigerian super rich. Next here on More 4, when cardiac arrest strikes. 999, what's your emergency? On the way.